Marker. And action.
This podcast is being recorded at the Motion Picture Institute, the oldest film school in Michigan, training the next generation of filmmakers today. Check out the website motionpicture.edu and schedule a tour now. All right, and welcome back to the show. Today I have a very exciting guest, one that feels a little full circle for me. Zachary Cunningham is an award-winning director, writer, and producer from Detroit, Michigan, with an immense passion for poetry and culture, pushing him to create jazz-infused art films. He worked on the City of Detroit's Spokespeople, a short documentary series covering emerging Detroit leaders and businesses within the community. In that time, his short film Little Church was screened at over 15 festivals around the world and won the best short film at the Denton Black Film Festival. He would eventually partner up with another Detroit filmmaker, Charles Kennedy Jr., and form the production company misFitted, prompting him to direct commercials for brands such as Rivian, Plante Moran Wealth Management, McLaren Health, and Wayne County. He's since continued to make more award-winning work, such as his 16mm short film Right On, his debut feature film In A Sentimental Mood, and now his latest feature film, I Wish I Could See Heaven. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, and let's talk motion picture. Zachary, I appreciate you making the time, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Right off the gate, I want to just bring up how you came into my peripheral. Mm-hmm. When I first moved to the United States, I was trying to find ways of like finding inspiration, trying to network. I typed hashtag Detroit film, and I found Charles Kennedy Jr.'s stuff, and then I found you through that.
Yeah.
And I was able to work with Philip Sean Devon, shout out, very talented actor. And in that experience, I briefly got to hear about his time working with Charles and working with you by extension. And so this feels very full circle to me.
For sure.
Because you were one of the influences when I was a student here at Motion Picture Institute. I made a short film that was about a poet in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was, I would say, loosely inspired by like the stuff I saw with you and what you had done with Right On.
Dope.
So this feels very full circle.
Dope.
And I've been waiting to share that with you on here. So I appreciate you making the time. And I want to go right into my first question, which is, it seems like your career really took off in 2013, right? Because you made a film. Mm-hmm. And I would like you to break down what that film was and how that kind of just started opening doors for you and what made this career feel attainable.
So 2013, I had been making the jazz kind of films, the Miles Davis stuff, all that stuff. I've been doing that, and those pieces were like 2011, 2012, and kind of cut my teeth doing that stuff. 2013, I was like, I want to actually make a movie, like a short, but I didn't know how to write screenplays. So I had a poem called The Crack that was just sitting around that I wrote when I was like 17, and I pirated Final Draft at the time. At the time, you know what I'm saying? I pirated Final Draft, and I looked up how to write screenplays, and I just pretty much transferred the poem into script form, and then I think it was pretty much me and friends, and we just made the film. And at the time, I had bought the first Blackmagic camera on like a credit card, like the original, that box, the terrible, Blackmagic camera. And
this is the Ursula?
No, this was like the Blackmagic cinema camera. Oh, okay. It was just like a box and just a lens mount. It was terrible. Like you would like stick SSDs into the side of it. It only shot RAW or ProRes, but it wasn't B-RAW. It was just like uncompressed RAW. And so we did the short. I sent it to my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to show this." Because my mom was a PR professional. She's like this bigwig PR professional. And she ended up reaching out to a bunch of friends. We got a screening. We got like a venue for it and everything like that. And then she was like, "Oh, well, you need to do another film." So I ended up writing another film called Regrets. And then that's when we showcased my first two films at, I think it was February 28th, 2014. And pretty much from then on, it was just,
It took off running.
Yeah, hit the ground running.
And that's where things get really interesting, because you made a short film called Little Church.
Yeah,
did very well.
Yeah.
And kind of got you into the commercial space.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through how that all came to be?
So We did a film called You Better Run in 2017. And I kind of won an award for that. And then again, my mom kind of plays a part in all these stories because she's kind of like been like, she's like my biggest critic, but also my biggest supporter, which is hilarious. So me and a friend, we were going to do another short film called Seeds Grow Inward, but it never happened. And so I wrote the short for Little Church because my father's a pastor and I always wanted to write something about being a preacher's kid in Detroit. So I wrote the script for Little Church. And my DP at the time, Jeremy Brockman, who's an incredible DP himself, I sent him the script and he was like, man, we got to do this. And so I reached out to my mom. I went to my mom's house and I had a pitch deck and everything like that. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to ask everybody I know with means for $500 until I get $10,000. And so my mom arrogantly says, I don't want anybody else to take credit for you. I'll just give you the $10,000.
Holy cow. Shout out to mom.
Exactly. So yeah, that's how Little Church got funded. And so I called Marshall Montgomery from Trinity International Film Festival. And I was like, hey, Marshall, Lazar, do y'all want to produce this? I was like, hey, you don't have to do anything. I'll give you the film. Just give us our own screening at Trinity. And so we packed the house out and Little Church was really well received. Marshall and Lazar paid for the festivals. They paid for like the festivals, so I ended up going to like a bunch of different festivals. Went to Bronze Lens Festival, which was an Oscar qualifying festival. And I guess just the buzz throughout the city, because there was nothing really that looked like that at the time in 2018. It was pretty much, people were still kind of shooting on DSLRs and still, it was a very polished piece, and we had like real posts on it. A fun fact behind Little Church was graded with the LUT from the third act of Moonlight. So I know it's crazy.
Did you pirate that one as well?
No, I did. I wish. So Rick Unger, who was the colorist shouts out to Terry King. Terry King, he owns a post house in Ferndale. They did post on Little Church for free. Wow, shout out. Yeah, Terry King, he's like a mentor, great dude. We went to him and asked him. He read the script. He loved it. He's like, hey, I'll do it for free. So Rick Unger, who's the colorist on Little Church, we were kind of struggling with finding a look for Little Church because the way the script reads, you would think that it would feel more like a Fruitvale Station, kind of like that desaturated, kind of like indie tone kind of thing. But when we were looking at the footage, it was just looking very like bland, right? And so me, Jeremy, and Rick would be in the editing bay, and we were like, man, what's wrong with it? Why is it's not popping? And so I remember I took one of the screenshots that Rick sent me, and I just edited it on my iPhone, and I turned up the contrast and the saturation. And I was like, oh, this is kind of closer what we need to look. So he was like, send me a few references. So I sent him a reference of Andre Holland from the third act of Moonlight. And so I went in the next day, and it looks totally different. He's like, oh, yeah, I reached out to the colorist from Moonlight, and he was like, hey, do you have that LUT around from, like, the third act? I want to use it. And he sent it to him, and that's how Little Church ended up getting the look that it has. So,
I mean, yeah, it went to, like you said, like I said, you have 15 festivals around the world.
Yeah.
How does it feel being someone who, just gets into filmmaking and then makes a short film that gets that kind of, like, buzz, and then it plays around the world?
We knew it was special when we made it. Like, we knew. We made it for that purpose. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, me, Jeremy, Marshall, Lazar, like, we knew. Like, we all knew what it was. When I saw the rough cut, I cried. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, oh, we did something. Like,
it's something powerful.
Yeah, we knew it. Like, off rip. Like, so it was kind of just like, yeah, man. And then from the buzz of that, that's how Jesse Ford from We the People ended up discovering me, who was an EP. He's their commercial company, and he found me from the buzz from that, and then he reached out to me, and pretty much the rest is history in terms of like the commercials and things like that.
Is that when the Rivian commercial came in?
Yeah.
So can you tell us, because right before we started recording, you said that it took you like 48 hours?
Yeah, so he hit Jesse. We have been talking for a while, and he was like, I'm gonna get you on something. And so he reaches out to me like on a Saturday, I think, or Saturday or Sunday. And he's like, hey, I got this job for you. he sends me a website. Hey, go learn. Are you into cars? I'm like, no. He's like, all right, we'll figure it out. He sends me a website. Research this because you have to talk to these people about this, these engineers.
And you got it.
2 days later, I'm on set like, what the hell am I doing? But I'm, I guess I got a good poker face.
You do. Well, we spoke about that as well,
Yeah.
like the social media presentation. You seem like a very intense personality on social media.
Yeah.
And you have like these Stanley Kubrick like photos of you like this.
Yeah.
Like looking through your brow.
Yeah.
And then I speak to you on the phone and you're like really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is a leaf.
Yeah.
I was worried. There was a moment there where I was a little concerned. I was like, is this like the first auteur that I come across,
Yeah, nah.
And I think in the best way possible you are. And what I really want to know is because you kind of start off as an independent filmmaker, as independent as it gets.
For sure.
And then you go and direct a commercial for a brand. I mean, a pretty significant brand. What is the experience like as a director? What is like the major differences that you encountered?
I would say the major difference is, the difference between commercial and narrative is that commercials, everything has to be planned up front. Like you don't have much leeway. So like you have to know what you're talking about, and you have to convince the agency that you know what you're talking about. So that's just, but then with narrative, you can kind of do whatever you want. You plan, but you still can kind of figure it out on the fly. That doesn't really happen in commercials. So, and then it's also like kind of imposter syndrome because you're really working with the best people. So it's like you really have to know your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say the role of a director is not to like be like just pull good performances out of actors, but it's about like being able to communicate your vision to those who you need to communicate it to. So whether that's your DP, whether that's your producer, whether that's the agency people, you have to be able to like communicate. So like directing commercials like really pushes those soft skills. Like you have to have those soft skills. And that's where having two educated parents who taught me how to speak early on in life, taught me how to stand up for myself. These are when those things start to kind of come back up. So I would say that's probably like communication is probably like the biggest difference.
Okay. And then I guess my next question is when did misFitted come in? Because from looking at some of your other work, I see misFitted academics.
Mm-hmm.
Did that eventually get transitioned into misFitted?
Yeah.
And where did like Charles and you first encounter each other?
So me and Charles met in, what year was that?
Okay, so it's been a minute.
Yeah. It really hasn't been that long though. I think we met in 2018 for the first time.
Fairly
but we
recent.
knew of each other though. Yeah, we met in 2018 and then he wasn't even DPing at that point. He was more so like just directing, writing and directing. And then he was the AD on Right On. I had him the AD on Right On. And because I had saw his short film Affliction, the short film version of Affliction, I was like, man, this is really dope. He's one of us, It's rare that you find, people around here who want to like make dope stuff, So we did Affliction. I kind of helped. I wasn't even supposed to be on Affliction, like I told you on the phone. I just kind of helped him because his other producers.
You're talking about the feature one, right?
The feature, yes. I did Affliction, and Affliction really kind of flipped the switch. I don't think In a Sentimental Mood happens without Affliction, because Affliction was like, oh, we can really do this, And it was like a lot went wrong in Affliction's production, and so, like I'm a serial preparer, like I'm like crazy preparer. Chuck didn't really have anybody doing that for him behind the scenes. And we still were able to make a pretty solid film with Affliction out of that. So I was like, okay, if we bring the preparation to this formula, we can really like make something much larger than what our budget would suggest. You know what I'm saying? So
it's a very solid production.
Yeah. And so, we shot Affliction on the weekends and things like that. So after we did In a Sentimental Mood, I went to him and I was like, hey, like I got misFitted academics, but I want to rebrand. Let's come together and kind of figure this out, because we were doing everything together anyway. So let's make it official.
So you just found like essentially like a connection with him,
Mhm.
something that was like, okay, worth partnering up right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and the connection was personal too. You know, Chuck was one of the first people who like held my kid, you know, during COVID. We let him in the house during COVID, you know, and he held my son, you know. So it was everybody who you see me work with, I have like personal relationships with. So I know we're gonna talk about Don later, but Don is like the godfather to my kid. He's my son's godfather. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So,
I love this because I've kind of run into the same thing.
yeah.
I've got people that I've met through my passion
Yeah.
that are now the most important integral people in my life.
Facts.
And I don't know. I've had experiences with, I would say, people outside of the industry,
Mhm.
and they always seem to be in this weird, like, I say, crash course to nowhere.
Mhm.
They want to have friends, they want to have purpose, but they're not passionate about anything.
Mhm.
And if you're not passionate, you're not going to have a purpose, at least what you perceive to be your purpose, and therefore you won't meet people.
For sure.
And I think that's something that just watching your films,
Mhm.
the familiar faces who keep popping back up, the
Yeah.
familiar names in the credits, I'm
Yeah.
like, you embody it. And there's something on your website that you and Chuck have. I might be paraphrasing.
Mhm.
It's like if you're about people, then you're our kind of people.
Mhm.
Like that's your like slogan.
Culture fits anywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you have like this little slug line that's
Yeah.
like, if you're about people, then you're our
Yeah.
kind of people.
Something like that.
And I love that because I
Yeah.
always tell people, like I tell Jay, I'm in the business of people.
For sure.
I don't think I'm in the business of filmmaking because
Yeah.
what is filmmaking?
Exactly.
It's just equipment.
Yeah.
But with people specifically, these connections, these relationships, it's what makes it feel worthwhile. And so I feel very privileged to have gotten behind the curtain access to some of your work and like
Yeah.
seeing those relationships develop over years, seeing the quality of your work just completely elevate.
Mhm.
It's been really fascinating. And so seeing that you and Chuck found that kind of friendship and it birthed the company
Yeah.
that is now like a full-on production company in Detroit,
For sure.
right? Doing incredible work, working with these big brands.
For sure.
You know, it's very uplifting, very inspiring.
For sure.
And yes, we are going to talk about Don Snipes.
No, yeah. All good. All good.
So he's a very talented actor.
Mm-hmm.
How did that start? And then what about that connection just felt right to continue to collaborate?
So I met Don 9 years ago. I met him through a mutual friend who I used to play basketball with. And Don's actually he's a writer, he's a director, he acts like he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. So I just want to say this: Don is behind every script that you've ever seen me make. You know, he's doctored every single script that I've written. So just want to give him that credit. But he was filming a pilot, and I wasn't directing at this point because this is like 2015. 2016, I wasn't directing at that particular point. I was kind of just focusing solely on filming. I kind of wanted to learn the craft and kind of was like getting on set and getting experience and things of that nature. And he was filming a pilot and he wanted me to film it. And so the pilot never got finished, but we got really close, you know, during that process. And so we pretty much been locked in ever since. And then I wrote the script for You Better Run, and, you know, he was in that, and that kind of just changed everything. Yeah.
It just kind of fit, right? The puzzle fit.
Yeah, for sure.
So then, I mean, he has a very significant role in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Specifically with your debut feature.
For sure.
And I would love to know, like, when In the Sentimental Mood came in, like, what was in your head at that space? Like, why make a feature film at that point?
So In a Sentimental Mood was, I always wanted to make, In the Mood for Love is like one of my favorite films, Wong Kar-wai, In the Mood for Love. And so I always wanted to make a film that was similar to that. And, you know, we had already been planning to make a feature, especially, again, Affliction. I think Affliction showed me that I could do it. And I wrote this script. I wrote the script really quick. I wrote the script in like a month, you know, and I wrote it specifically for Don and Debbie, who are in the film, because I know them personally.
Shout out to Debbie, by the way.
Yeah, Debbie's incredible. She's incredible. Yeah, man, it was at a point to where, honestly, it was just like, okay, I need to start making money from this. I got a kid, I got a newborn, like, let's really kind of go for it. And it just kind of came from there. Then COVID happened, and we had a little bit of money, and it was just like, all right, let's do it. Everybody has time. So we shot that film in 5 days.
So, okay, well, let me pause right there. did you use like the stimulus checks to pay for the film? Am I insinuating that correctly?
Actually, no, because it wasn't. I'm just saying, like,
How did it get financed?
so it got financed from family and friends.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't a lot of money though. It was like,
Might I ask what the budget was?
sure, $5,000.
You shot that movie for $5,000.
$5,000, 5 days.
Whoa, that's actually really impressive.
$5,000, 5 days. But we prepped for like 6 months. Me and Chuck.
Okay, that makes you feel a lot better.
I told you
now.
we prep. We prep.
Serial prepper, right?
We're a serial prepper, man.
You got to get that on like a hoodie or something.
Yeah, I know. So we have all of we went to the location, we filmed test shots, we did all of that stuff. Created looks, LUTs, all that stuff.
That's fascinating. Okay,
Yeah.
so you fundraised between family and friends $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Can I, in terms of your shooting schedule,
Mm-hmm.
how far out did you start fundraising in the 6 months of prep?
So we were planning on originally shooting it for $50,000, you know, because we were gonna do like a crowdfunding campaign similar to what we did with Right On. We raised $13,000 for Right On crowdfunding, you know, but then COVID happened, you know, so COVID sort of kind of ended all that. I didn't feel comfortable asking people for money, and we're in this like kind of like world crisis.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, let's just figure it out. But the one thing we do have is time. We have time, and we got all this gear. So let's figure it out, you know? So, yeah, I forgot the question.
So no, I just wanted to know, in terms of that 6 months crowdfunding from friends and family, like, because I mean, this is how I try to see it. You obviously choose what day you want to shoot, and then you start preparing in order to get to that day. You're trying to get your locations locked in, actor schedules, crew schedules, right? Lock in the crew members.
For sure.
You had the equipment ready, so that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I guess, one, how did you budget for the film? If it was originally budgeted for $50,000, how did you re-budget it down to a $5,000? So that's a $45,000 drop in budget. And then how long did it take you to save up or raise that $5,000 before you hit the ground running?
It didn't take really much time to raise it because it was just like, hey, Mom, you got $1,000? Hey, B, my brother, you got 500? Like, hey, best friend Jay out in Cali, you got 500? It was that, you know what I mean?
So it's
like,
fairly quick.
Yeah, and then pretty much we didn't know what was gonna happen. So it was just like, hey, y'all just want to make a film real quick? So we pretty much just paid for like the necessary things. Like, so we had to pay for the Cochran House, the location, you know what I'm saying? Food, and that's pretty much kind of what it was, you know what I'm saying?
Did you have to make any significant compromises on the vision when you lost the other $45,000?
Of course. Yeah, of course. But I always say we made the film that we were supposed to make, though. You know, I think the film ended up being a lot more intimate. The first day we were shooting single camera, you know, and it went terrible. We were moving too slow. And so that's why I always say we really shot the film in 4 days, because the first day everything got 86'd.
Yeah.
From the first day.
I call it the F-up day.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
In my own experience, it's the F-up day.
Yeah. And so, so yeah, we did that. And yeah, man, it was rough, you know, but it was just, you know, people were passionate about making something, and it came out cool, man.
Well, that's what I want to say is specifically what you said, that you made the movie you were meant to make.
Yeah,
This is something I try to embody. It's where there's an obstacle, there's an opportunity.
For sure.
It might be delusional, but I believe every film has like a reason for why it exists.
Yeah.
And when a filmmaker is passionate, when they're kind of like tapping into something, there's like another level of existence that we're siphoning energy from. And if you have a strong enough connection to whatever that realm is, it will speak through you. But you have to understand that you are not in control of that energy.
Absolutely.
And you can't grab it. You have to channel it. And that means a lot of listening to the universe.
Yeah.
And that means sometimes that, you know, what you wrote about having a green car, you're not going to get a green car, and now you have to live with that. Now it's a blue car. You got a blue car. And now that's what the film wants. You've got to believe that the film is speaking to you and that it's telling you what it needs to be. And I think I love that you kind of embody that in your work. And going into my next question is, you have this wonderful YouTube channel where you've broken down some of your filmmaking journey, and there's two things in there that I want to deep dive. One is your idea of working with actors. I heard you say in one of your behind the scenes that you don't like the idea of the director being the one who brings a good performance out of an actor. It's not what you believe. Your philosophy is that you create the environment for the actor to kind of flourish. That's like a very, very profound way of approaching the filmmaking, like universe, if we can go with that. For someone who started off as independent as it gets and then doing a commercial in like 48 hours, like where did that come in? When did you click? When did that fall into place for you as an approach of being a director?
I think being around good friends who are actors, like again, Don, Debbie, Henri, Brian, like I spent time with them. And so it's like a lot of the times with good actors, you kind of get out of their way, like Phil. Like Phil, he's going to do most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I got in his way very quickly.
Yeah, you just kind of guide him where you need to. You make sure that you make sure that you're like, when I say create an environment, it's more so like you got to be able to answer questions, have a good script, first off, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, just make sure that wherever they're trying to go, that you have created a bridge and that allows them to get there, or a road that allows them to get there, But if you're constantly interjecting and trying to interject your perspective because that's all you care about, then you're going to stifle their creative process, because the reality about film is that we're all creative. So we're all bringing in different perspectives. And I think that's the beauty of film. You know what I mean? That's why I call film like cinematic jazz. Like people say my style is jazzy. Like the reality, like, so I'll give you a perfect example. It's a scene in Sentimental Mood, you know what I'm saying? And you could probably maybe, I don't know if you put this in the video or whatever, but it's a scene in Sentimental Mood where Debbie cries at the end, where she's kind of like saying her monologue and she kind of like breaks down crying and she says, sorry. She's not talking to Don. She's talking to me. So the take before that, she goes into her monologue and she starts crying, because remember, I wrote this script specifically for her. And earlier in the day, she comes up to me, she's crying like in the dark, and she says, Zach, I relate so much to this character, and this happened to me. And I just look at her and I say, I know. And then I walk away. and then I walk away. And so the take before the take that's in the film, she goes and she stops in the middle of the take and she says, I'm putting too much of myself into this. And I don't say anything. I just say, all right, we're going up for another one. And so when she, cause I'm behind the camera, I'm shooting her, you know what I mean? Like, so we go up for the second take and she starts crying. She goes through the monologue and then she says, sorry. And everybody thinks she's talking to Don because it fits in the story, but she's actually talking to me. She's saying sorry to me for crying, but it's those special moments, that where you just kind of just got to let things happen. You know what I mean? Because that's the beauty of it, because these aren't just robots reading lines. They're humans bringing their experience to it. You know what I mean? Bringing their experience to these characters. And I feel like that's what makes cinema magical, because the reality is you can feel it on set. Like, you can feel it. And it's crazy. It's palpable. Like, I know we're going to talk about heaven eventually, but I'm sure you've seen, the ending of the film, right?
Powerful.
Like, we shot that on the first day.
Whoa.
That was the last thing we shot on the first day. And I always say, when we got that...
So you like mind games as a director.
No, it was just a scheduling thing. It was like, it wasn't even... I
mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, because it's still going to premiere. It's a very emotionally heavy scene.
Yeah, for sure. And we shot that on the first day. And I always say that particular scene helped us figure out the rest of the movie. Like, what was the tone of the film? You know what I mean? So yeah, but it's these magical things that happen that are just, you just kind of got to embrace them. And that's why I always try to tell younger filmmakers, like embrace kind of like the unknown, embrace what everybody's bringing to the table, because that's what really makes the films unique. People always say like, oh, Zach, your films are so unique. Your films are so unique. No, our films are unique. It's just a bunch of different people adding in their stuff to the gumbo. That's all it is. It's nothing special. You know what I mean? But what makes it special is the fact that it's a space for everybody to kind of add in their stuff. And it's being distilled through my vision, so.
Yeah, you're curating.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I mean, I will put a link to your YouTube channel in the description for this. Anyone who wants to check it out. I highly recommend it for people who are up and coming like myself. It's very, very useful.
Dope.
There's some really cool stuff in there. There is a catchphrase you keep using. I'd like to know what the origin of, and I'm guessing it has to do with that hoodie as well. Give a kid a camera.
Yeah, give a kid a camera.
Where did that originate from?
So I put a camera in my son's hand at 2 years old. And so...
Adorable kid, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So... Yeah, so we got like a brand and a nonprofit that we're launching soon with it. So yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so the goal is to, sell the merchandise, but also, take the proceeds of the sales and pass out disposable cameras around the community to kids, as young as possible. Because if you put a camera in a kid's hand and they take photos, you kind of get to see things from their world, but they also get to see things from their world. And I think back to myself, I picked up a camera like 22. I didn't grow up wanting to be a filmmaker. So I'm like, man, well, imagine if I had a camera at 12, or imagine if I had a camera at 2. And I found myself through the camera. I found myself through storytelling, And imagine if we were to put these cameras in these kids' hands and like really empower them to like tell their own story. Because I feel like when you tell your own story, you feel more confident. You love your environment. You love your space. You love your community. You love the people adjacent to you more because you cherish it. You know what I'm saying? So
I think it's a wonderful initiative.
So that's the goal. That's the goal with it. And one of my mentors is kind of partnering with me on that. So
yeah, we encourage friends of the show. So at some point, I'm going to have you back on here.
For sure.
And I would like an update on that.
For sure.
And you see, what's beautiful about this is I kind of got this feeling just from looking at your work that you were very big in community. You're very big in being local.
Yeah.
And especially like when I moved here, Detroit's not known to the world as like a film hotspot. So I was like, okay, I'm moving to the States, which is a leg up for sure. But like, how do I get started? Like, how do I find work? How do I become a filmmaker? Specifically what I wanted to do. Because what I wanted to do was narrative. But if I could make most of my income through commercial, that'd be great. It's a great way to practice and stay active. So yeah, finding someone like you, finding someone like Chuck, like it just really, it's inspiring. It gave me like a sense of okay, this is possible here in Motor City. For sure. Like this is a very possible likelihood. And I think what you're doing by like, again, demystifying your own process with your YouTube channel, giving us a sight into your work and how you do things, I really, really enjoy. But you also, before filmmaking, it seems like you were an artist before that. Like poetry was very important to you and all that. Like I kind of winding the clock back a little bit. What got you into filmmaking?
I'm still an artist.
No, I'm with you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misconstrue your words.
I'm talking. I
didn't mean to misconstrue
I'm just talking. Yeah, no. So yeah, it was poetry.
Did you start off as a poet?
Yeah.
And then what is that segue? What is that point where you were like, I'm a filmmaker now, full on?
So I think it was I had these 3 poems. So I was a poet. I used to do performance poetry and all that stuff. I had these 3 poems. They were called Detroit. They were just about Detroit or whatever. And I had a family friend who had a camera, and I went to her and I was like, hey, I want to do a documentary about Detroit based on these poems, Of course, I didn't know at the time that we were going to make an art film, but it ended up being an art film. And I did it once, and that was back in 2011. And I just fell in love with the process, bro. I felt like I found my voice. And I didn't really know anything, about cameras or anything like that. And
how old were you again at this time?
I don't know, 2011. So I'm 36 now, so you do the math. I don't know. I'm not good at.
No, never mind. Jay,
So
gonna hop in there.
we're artists. You know what I'm saying? I was early 20s though.
2011, and you're 36 now.
Yeah.
Say you were in your 20s.
Yeah, I was 20s. Yeah.
And so, okay. Yeah, no, I wanted to be a filmmaker from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And then I didn't feel like it was attainable. So I
Yeah.
became a comic book artist. And then I went to an arts high school.
Okay.
And that's kind of when the script flipped on me.
Yeah.
So I find it fascinating that you went into poetry without any desire to be a filmmaker, and then found yourself truly, I guess, expressed in the art of filmmaking. And I think that for anyone listening, that's like a good indication that you're never too late, never too early.
Yeah, and I always loved movies. My parents were film buffs. So we grew up watching like everything. Probably stuff that we shouldn't have been watching. You know what I'm saying? Let's
go.
Like The Godfather is like life to my family. So we've been breaking that down since we were like 5-6 years old. You know. So
in one of your videos you break down like how they use push-ins. And how you used push-ins in your latest film.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because like I sent you a short film that I made.
Yeah.
And a lot of my approach to that film was shaped by you as a filmmaker. And I didn't want to bring this up on the phone because I was like, that feels like a heavy thing to drop on somebody.
No.
But when I was a student here at MPI, a lot of the lecturers were making these comments about being intentional. And I got a little like frustrated with that because I'm like, you think I'm not intentional? You think I'm in this seat?
You took it as a personal attack.
Yeah, you think I'm paying this money? I'm sitting here to not be intentional?
Exactly.
But then you don't understand because when you don't know the language that they're talking in, like you can't perceive the ideas, the concepts. So I had to learn the language.
Yeah.
And then finding some of your work and how you talked about your work, I was like, okay, so this is a difference. And the reason because I found Chuck first, I found Charles first, and then you were kind of like in the peripheral, and then I came to school and we have a lecturer here called Rob Skates, and Rob Skates worked with somebody that I believe did the lighting on Right On.
Probably Justin Ward, most likely. Courtesy flag.
Something like that. Because I know you DP'd Right On, right?
No, I didn't DP Right On. Jeremy Brockman DP
Jeremy Brockman. So I believe Jeremy Brockman knows Rob Skates.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
I could be wrong. Sounds familiar. But I remember him talking about Right On, and he showed us a little bit of it, right? And I was like, whoa. Because there's that opening shot.
Yeah, that shot is incredible.
Where the camera slowly reels in.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, wait a second. That is intentional. Like I felt something in that moment, and because it felt accessible. Like when you watch a Hollywood film at that stage, that age, you don't really like perceive. At least I didn't. I didn't like break down the filmmaking. I just enjoyed the story.
Yeah.
But now, like, there's someone local who's attempting to make films of that caliber, making those kind of decisions. I was able to perceive it and go, whoa, okay, what is that? Why did I like that? Why did that leave a resonation on me? And I don't know if you caught it, like in my short film, I did that push-in when they're sitting down at the table. Like I stole that. I apologize.
Hey, no, that's not good. Look, I stole it too, so it don't matter.
But I think the reason I wanted to share this with you, not on the phone, but in person, was to show you like the impact you've had on filmmakers locally, on filmmakers who are aspiring. I look at you and I go, that's someone who did it the right way, did it his way. And it inspired that film. And I also love poetry. I'm a very big poet person. I won't say I'm a poet, but I do love poetry.
Yeah.
And so like that film was a result of that. And I guess that takes me into my next question, which is for people like me, what advice do you have for aspiring filmmakers, people who want to follow in your footsteps?
What advice do I have? It's really like, what advice don't I have? I would just say, keep going. Like, don't stop. Like, there were a lot of people back when I first started who were like ahead of me when I wasn't good, when the work wasn't great, but they stopped or let life get in the way or whatever. Like, I'm just a testament of just persistence. Persistence and just, I would say also too, compete with your heroes. You know what I mean? Like, meaning that, like, if I see a Spike Lee shot, I want something to look like something from a Spike Lee movie. I don't want it to just look like my peers. You know, I'm not really competing with my peers. You know, I wanna make something that looks like Phantom Thread or something like that. You know, like, or There Will Be Blood. Like when we were doing the Look for Heaven, I was like, I wanted to look like Widows. You know, like, you know, when I was coloring the film, like, so. Definitely have good references, and then more so than anything, man, just find good collaborators who you can build with, like, and then don't think about money as much, man. Think about resources, you know. Just think about it like, I'll tell you how much we spent on Heaven off camera.
Yeah, I do want to end on talking about your latest feature film.
Yeah.
I wish I could see Heaven.
Yeah, but I'll tell you off camera how much we spent.
Yeah, you can tell me off camera.
Yeah.
I get exclusives.
Yeah, I'll tell you off camera. But yeah, man, don't think about money as much. Think about resources. Think about, you know, equity and sharing and things of that nature. Like Aiden was like, he was asking me.
Aiden Sullivan is
Aiden Sullivan, yeah. Aiden
collaborator
Sullivan,
of yours.
Yeah. He's about to do, I think, his thesis for MPI.
Yeah, right
or
here.
whatever. Yeah. And so I was telling him, I'm like, hey, you need anything, just ask. Just come get it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I don't care.
Aiden's about to cheat.
No, but he said that they can't or something like
Yeah,
that.
there's certain limitations to make sure it's fair.
Because I'm like, hey, I got an Ursa 12K. Just come get it with the, you know, the lenses and stuff. Like, why
Aiden,
not?
I encourage you to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Break the rules.
Just do it. Just cheat.
I broke the rules.
You know? But no, like, so that's what it's about. I would just say, like, most of the cameras are good enough today too. Don't focus on gear. I know it's hard not to, you know what I mean? But focus on the storytelling. And I would say have good locations. Locations are everything. A good location, just say like uncle's condo in Heaven. That's my dad's condo.
It's a beautiful condo.
It's my dad's condo. You know, the main character's house, that was my producer's home. A really nice home over on the west side of the city, like classic home. Like, so yeah, just find good locations. But yeah, man, just don't stop, man. Like that's the key, you know. Don't stop and find mentorship if possible. I have really good mentors who kind of, you know, help me and help guide me through, you know. Don't be hesitant to ask for help, you know. And don't hesitate. I mean, look, I'm always available. I know my social media might seem like I'm not, you know, because it's like super serious because it's curated, you know. But I'm pretty much available. I'm an open book, to be honest.
No, it's been a wonderful conversation, and I want to dive now into your latest feature because I was fortunate enough, thank you, to get a preview link, and wow. Having now, like, you know, I've observed you from a distance in the last 2-3 years, and like now over the last week, watching all of your stuff again and going into it, watching the behind the scenes, man, just the crescendo of quality.
Yeah.
You know, that shot of Don Snipes in the car, like, the lighting, like the halo on him, and like how you guys used light throughout the film. I'm like, this might as well be on Netflix. Yeah, like it looks that good.
I appreciate you.
And that is the result of time, energy, effort, right? The whole equation. So where did that come about? And how long did it take to shoot? And just overall, congratulations.
I appreciate you. So it's funny. I had another film that we were supposed to do that didn't happen. It's called Little Feet Take Giant Steps. It's about a jazz musician. And so that's kind of like what I view as like my opus, right? Like, and so we were working on another film. Me and Charles were working on another film called Project 313, and that is coming out in August. It's premiering in August. But Chuck was DPing it, and I was DITing it, and misFitted kind of did like the production on the project or whatever. And so I told Chuck, I was like, man, I want to write something new, you know? And I didn't really know what, but I love No Country for Old Men. And so I was like, what if I wrote a film about Anton, but it's from his perspective?
That puts new context.
And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, I'm like contract killer. Okay, cool. okay, but what's the irony? What's the interesting thing behind it? Oh, what if he's a contract killer, but he's taking care of his mother who's in a coma for like a 30-year coma? That's like a interesting dynamic. And then pretty much it went from there. And then I wrote the script in like 30 days. I kind of gave myself and I wrote the whole script in first person. Like, so the entire script is written in first person, like Oppenheimer, you know? So yeah. Every character just has names, like me, you, like nobody has names, you know? Because I wanted the reader to feel like it's very subjective. You know, and this is a very subjective film. It's not an objective film. It's very subjective. This is his experience, you know, from start to finish. We only change perspectives one time.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, I mean, even the way you like shoot violence in the film, there's one shot that's just like the elbow. You just see an elbow coming in and out of screen. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, I was like, it's effective. And I'm like, I in my perception of that moment, I'm like, obviously getting makeup, getting actors trained to take on stage combat, stuff like that, on-screen training, like all that takes time. Moving the frame out of the way and just letting the action happen, like just out of sight, was a very strong choice that resonated with me. I was like, that's sick.
Yeah.
Gonna keep that one for later.
Yeah, and that, I'm assuming you're talking about, I think I know what scene you're talking about. Well, not the elbow scene, but it's another one where we kind of go past the violence and kind of move. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So that was a game time decision. I came up with that like a week before we shot.
Game time decision. I love it.
I came up with that a week before we shot, you know, and I was like, Chuck, what if instead of showing this, we just kind of,
shift away.
Yeah, we shift away, and then we push into. And we were like, oh man, this is crazy.
We just made cinema.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's what it was. So again, it's jazz, man. You just got to kind of figure it out, man.
Are you going to seek distribution with this film? Okay. So in that case, we'll have to follow up because I do want people to see it. It's, in my opinion, up to date, I think it is definitely your best work.
For sure.
It is insanely good to look at.
Yeah.
It's well acted. Everyone did a phenomenal job. It's powerful.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate that.
The way you handled, like I said, the violence and the kind of subject matter, I was like, man, we're lucky that you're local.
Man, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. I'm glad you watched it, you know?
Yeah, no, thank you for giving me the sneak preview link. I was like, man, this feels exclusive as heck.
It is.
I was like, damn. Mom was like, can I watch? I'm like, you go back to your room.
Hey, mom can watch, bro. You know, it's mom.
Okay, I didn't know.
No,
if it was.
Mom. Go ahead,
I waited specifically until she was in bed to make sure. Like,
no, it's cool. I ain't tripping like that.
I don't want to get arrested.
Yeah.
But no, so there's so much more. I don't know if you can tell. I've been super eager to talk to you.
For sure.
It's been very exciting for me.
For sure.
And I'm just overall appreciative of your time and your willingness to share your wisdom. So we are going to have to follow up at some point.
For sure.
I wish you the best of luck with your premiere on the 20th.
Thank you.
I do think this episode will come out after that, unfortunately.
That's cool.
Awesome. And then we encourage friends of the show.
Y'all coming? You want to come? You want to come to?
Yeah. I mean, are you available?
All right, come on. Yeah, just show up, man.
Just show up?
Yeah, show
you
up.
got it. Okay.
I'll add you to the list for sure.
Perfect. Yeah. We can request that off work. We work at the same movie theater.
Okay, dope.
Yeah.
What movie theater?
Cinemark Southland Center.
Okay.
Yeah,
dope.
in Taylor, Michigan.
Okay.
And we live on the same street.
Dope.
The Baraga Boys is what we go by.
Dope. Okay.
But I just want, so I'm going to add links to your YouTube channel, your website, misFitted and all that. So if you guys listening want to check out that stuff, I am going to, like, Jay, can we cut to my face real quick? Super emphasis on Zachary's YouTube channel. There's so much value there. Specifically the episode of when and when not to move the camera. I found that one very exhilarating, and the stuff you shot in Kenya and stuff like that. I thought that was, very beautiful. So yeah, enough praise. You are excellent, sir. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
you are excellent too, bro.
Oh.
That's one of the best. No, for real.
Too
Like
kind.
I watched your short, and I was like, yeah, nah, he's one of us. you know. And it was from like 2021. So I'm like, oh, so he's
very emotional.
So I'm like, he's iller. He's probably much better right now than he was then. You know? No, seriously.
I digressed.
Nah, seriously, bro. Like
But I appreciate that. Thank you.
It was dope, man. It was really dope. You know what I'm saying? And the attention to detail and to be so young. I'll say that you're much better than I was at 23.
Wow. This day took a turn for me.
Yeah. So keep going, bro. For real. And if you need anything from me, same thing. You get the Aiden treatment. You need anything, I got you.
Well, I appreciate that, sir.
So we got a lot of stuff.
If anything, I'll take friendship, and that'll be enough.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, thank you for your time, Zachary.
Yes,
and
sir.
guys, that was Let's Talk Motion Picture. This podcast is brought to you by Motion Picture Institute, a film school located in Troy, Michigan. If you'd like to know more about our extensive one-year filmmaking program, please check out the website at motionpicture.edu and schedule a tour today.